It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening and welcome to Brouhaha time. Marshall Wood sitting here looking at Dale McKee, ready to do another one. Top of the evening to you, sir.
Well, how you been doing today? I've been doing good.
You been doing good?
I've been doing good. I can't complain.
I'm not doing so good.
You're not doing so
No,
good?
I'm doing great. I was just kidding.
Yeah.
I was just kidding.
I got you.
Anything going on in the sports world?
Well, just a lot of baseball.
A lot of baseball. Softball too, I suppose.
Softball, yeah. We had state championships in softball last week down in Hattiesburg, and of course, Stan the Man helped us out last week with all of the details of it. But Stringer and Enterprise from our area won state championships, and East Central that plays in our division with Wayne County. They also won. George County won. So we had several, local teams within about an hour here winning. So that's always good.
Now, East Central was a softball champion, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What about George County? They do softball too, or does that baseball?
Yeah, no, they're going to be in baseball too this week, but they were in softball last week and won it. Second straight year they won it.
Wow.
Or 2 out of 3, I think it is. Two out of 3. But anyway, they've got a good program down there. So there's some local teams, and of course this week in Pearl they're going to have the high school baseball championships, and so we got a lot of local teams. We got Taylorsville is in the 1A. I know Enterprise or Clarkdale, who's coached by Wayne County boy Josh Palmer.
Yeah.
It's up around Meridian. They're in the 2A. So we got a few teams from this area. We got Purvis and West Lauderdale is going to be in 4A. 5A, we're going to have South Jones playing Lafayette.
Is it Lafayette?
Lafayette.
Is that the one from up there around Oxford?
I think so. It's not the one from Louisiana.
Yeah, I think it's Lafayette.
Yeah.
I couldn't swear to
it. Yeah, it's the country school in Oxford. So they're in it. George County's in it, 6A. So there's a lot of local teams going to be out there battling it out.
Battling it out, son. Still swinging for the big trophy.
Yeah.
Big trophy. What else is going on?
What else is going on? Well,
you see the Indiana? Did you see the Sky and the
I saw a little
Fever play yesterday?
I saw a little shoving. I saw the highlights of a little shoving meet there.
Looks like Caitlin Clark wanted to, she's been in the gym a little bit. Thought she'd push Angel Reese down.
It's like a friend of mine said, if that Angel Reese would go to McDonald's, she couldn't be pushed around as much as she was.
I'm telling you what. She's a big girl though.
Yeah.
She's tough too. Man.
She's one of them inner city Baltimore girls. So
is that where she's from, Baltimore?
Yeah. Ended up at LSU.
Imagine that. Probably made more money at LSU than she's making in the league. I think
Yeah, it's like that gymnastics girl down there at LSU. I can't think of her name.
Olivia DeHaan.
Yeah. Anyway, she's, her TikTok or whatever what it is making her millions of dollars. She's going to probably hate leaving college.
You need to get a TikTok and make millions of dollars.
No, I don't know. What would I do with the money?
You can give it to me.
Oh,
you should talk about TikToks and things like this. I posted a video on the War Eagle football page 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I think so far, I know 26 million people have watched it. 26 million people have watched that one video of Steve Morgan Jr. on doing some kind of exercise with some tsunami bars. Man, that thing went viral. And I got to looking at it, and I'm not going to tell you, had I monetized that page, how much money that would have made. Missed my chance, Dale.
You missed it, huh?
Missed it, man. Missed it.
Yeah.
You ought to Google and see what a $25 million 25 million view video would get you. pretty substantial.
Well,
Yeah, missed it. Though that's the story of my life. Just missed it by that much.
yeah.
But anyway, what you got for us tonight? Who we got? We got a guest tonight.
Yeah, we got we're gonna get some coastal, the Mississippi coast view take on sports in Mississippi.
Sports in Mississippi.
And he's going to talk a little bit about his thoughts on the Saints draft, you know,
Okay.
just, you know, because he covers the Saints. And we thought we'd get his opinion too, since we
Okay.
got some other opinions on it.
All right.
So we're going to go from there.
And did you say who it was?
No, I didn't.
Okay. It's gonna be a surprise.
Well, maybe he's been on the show before.
Yeah.
I thought everybody would know him.
Okay. We're not gonna do it unless we tell him.
We just call him Hunter.
Hunter Dawkins,
Oh, there you go.
Gazebo Gazette.
There you go.
I love it. Well, I tell you what, let's do. Let's take a break here from a sponsor, and let's come back with old Hunter Dawkins after this commercial break and talk about some sports. We'll see you folks after the commercial.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Hunter. Hunter, we appreciate you being on. You're one of our, I guess you've been on probably as much as anybody on our show, and we really do appreciate your input because we know you.
Gentlemen, I appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir. Well, listen. First of all, let's start off for just a few minutes with the. Tell us what your thoughts about the Saints situation. Maybe touch on the draft a little bit. What you thought if they got the needs. Do you think there's a different attitude in New Orleans? Just give us your thoughts.
Yes, sir. Well, obviously the draft, it's a hit or miss scenario depending on whenever the season starts. It looks good right now. The New Orleans Saints organization picked up an offensive tackle, a quarterback, and a lot of their needs, but you never really know what the truth is. It's going to make it happen at least until the season starts. The more surprising thing would be the retirement of veteran quarterback Derek Carr, more or less just taking the $30 million and running out of the atmosphere. And I'm not necessarily sure if that's something that people in New Orleans are pretty much sad about, or from what I've heard, more or less that they are very happy about that. And we're going to go from there, at least with the organization. However, picking up the quarterback and picking up the offensive lineman and the linebacker from Oklahoma, those appear to be pretty solid selections. And in my opinion, they're going to be difference makers on the season. And, I think the rebuilding is something that the Saints organization needed for a long time. And maybe that's what this year is going to take place for. And, Kellen Moore, more or less, the Saints fans are willing to give him a couple of years to kind of figure out what's going on because he's got the history and reputation of that.
What do you think the quarterback that was chosen in the second round? Do you think? Do you think he's? What's your thoughts on him?
Well, Suggs is obviously a good player, and the thoughts about him is I tell everybody this too, that there was some obvious selection based on what his abilities were. Kellen Moore was not going to go draft somebody or was not going to be responsible for getting somebody drafted that he's not comfortable with. So, because of that evaluation, Dale, those coaches, they sit there and they dissect every single bit of the quarterback. And for the Saints organization to select him in the second round, they're so high because the organization doesn't have a very good history of drafting quarterbacks that high. And that tells you a lot of the comfort that they had with him. But also, too, you got Spencer Rattler, who had a very your professional year, but obviously it was a little bit of rust because of not only the injuries off the line, but of what he went through. And so I think it's going to be a great competition, and I think, like I said, Fillmore's got a good history of producing offense, putting it out there. The most important thing is our offensive line. I think the Saints organization offensive line did a great job of picking up this kid from Texas, Banks, and then they've got Fuaga, really two solid producing tackles, and then the interior is looking pretty good with McCoy coming back and Cesar Ruiz. If we can maintain, if the Saints organization can maintain that stability, then offensively they're going to be tough to stop, and defensively they picked up a few key players as well.
Well, I got, in wrapping up this part of what we're going to talk about today with you, the schedule seems winnable. I think they got the second most favorable schedule based on wins and losses from teams last year. So that at least that adds hope,
Dale, I always laugh at the release of the NFL schedule because, as you know, NFL is pretty parity, and so. If you look back every year at the start of the season, and how things are determined and how results end up coming back, it always appears to be shocking if you look back and you're like, well, geez, this team wasn't really that good or anything like that. But, you're right. From right now, the Saints have a favorable schedule, and, I know a lot of people are going to argue and say things about why were we not prime time. Well, that might be a good solution for helping build in the future.
Yeah, they were like only one of three NFL teams that are not on prime time during the whole course of the season, and I think the Chiefs are on 7 times, and I think the Cowboys are going to be on Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day. So. TV goes where the people are watching. So, and New Orleans is kind of a small market.
As you know, Dale, we all live in Jerry's world. So,
yeah. Well, the thing about the Cowboys, even around in our area of the country, you have people that love the Cowboys or despise the Cowboys, and they'll watch them just to watch them lose. So that's
right.
That's the thing about the Cowboys. They're kind of like the New York Yankees of the football league. All right, well let's.
Except they don't win. They don't win as much as the Yankees. You and I both know that.
Oh well, that's true too. Okay, let's switch gears. College baseball coming up. Big week. All over the country. We have conference tournaments. We got. And I think next Sunday night or Monday next Monday they're going to decide who goes to the tournament. And what's your take on the big three?
Well, obviously Ole Miss and State, they did a great job the last 2 weeks. So not so much Ole Miss, but from State's perspective, State really brought itself back into the conversation after the release of the coach, Chris Lamonis. Parker really brought in the last 2 weeks, really brought in a pretty sound product, and if State wins at least a game in the SEC tournament, their RPI is pretty high also, so they look like they could be a pretty decent regional. They're not going to get any regional berth, but as far as host level, but they'll be able to get a conference berth and a playoff berth from that perspective. Ole Miss, they're in the high RPI as well, but the likelihood of the SEC getting 10 teams to host is very, very unlikely. And from that, I'll leave you to the rest of the best. Southern Miss has gone absolutely berserk the last few weeks, and not only they're doing everything they can to be able to host, however, they may not be able to. Even if they win the conference tournament, which, as both of y'all know, that's not necessarily an underlying factor for the selection committee. but it's pretty hard to pin up and say, okay, we've got the 11th ranked team in Coastal Carolina, even though they've been on a winning streak as well. But then you have Southern Miss. If they win, they're currently at 14 games in a row. If they win that, 15th, their 15th consecutive win. If they win the conference tournament, they will have close to 19 games in a row. And you're going to tell me that the team that won a conference championship and has won 19 games in a row is not going to be able to host? You won't find that very easy. Even though Jeremy McClain is on the committee, although he had nothing to do with it, there's a lot more talk than what you think.
Yeah, and Coastal Carolina should give them a rough time this weekend in Montgomery, because they won 14 straight going into this. But it's always amazing about the Golden Eagles. They seem to, a couple years ago, they went on a winning streak just like this at the end of the year, and they ended up hosting, if you remember, no, I know that they went to Auburn and then came back and hosted Tennessee, if you remember.
Yep, I do. I was at that series. I remember very well, Dale. The thing is, it's just my skepticism about Coastal Carolina is, if you remember last year, Coastal Carolina was in the same spot. Not necessarily winning that many games in a row, but as far as being RPI rankings, they were in the same spot, and they ended up, losing the first two games in the Sun Belt, tournament, and then of course Southern went on to win, but they didn't get the opportunity to host, and it is what it is. So.
All right. Well, listen. Let's talk about the Mississippi State coaching change for just a minute. I know they've gone on they won like 9 out of the last 10 games, and I think that to start the season, that one time they were 1-9 in the SEC, and they finished up 15-15. So that means they won 14 of the last 20. But do you think the coaching change did have that much to do with it, or do you think that by them playing teams like Kentucky and Missouri and their rival Ole Miss, that it was that was the reason that they got on this hot winning streak, that they weren't playing like they did at the start of the season, Texas and Oklahoma?
It's kind of hard to gauge, Dale, with the coaching switch, because as I've been in that, not necessarily in a baseball atmosphere, but I've been parts of coaching staffs with the switch of coaches during the season, and it's kind of hard to critique coaches based on, but at least in a job security level that we are in college and professional now, it's very hard to understand. But that's also the reason why there will be a standing head coach taking over the Bulldogs, unless if Parker wins the College World Series or gets them to the finals of the College World Series. I don't really see there not being a switch of coaches, and it's a lot of times, switching up the lineups, maybe, tweaking a little this, that, and the other. Maybe that's, the talent is there, Dale. You and I know the talent from Mississippi State has always been there. It's more or less, having the right attitude, there's little different intricacies to going into, college sports. And there's games, one-run games that make a difference here or there that turn into, what your record is. And that's, as we both know nowadays, it's more about what your record is than it is about where you're at as far as in team chemistry and things as such.
All right. Now, I know we didn't discuss this before the show, and I don't want to put you in a bind, but, there was pretty good softball played the weekend. Mississippi State reached the finals of the Lubbock Regionals before being put out. And Ole Miss surprised everybody by going out to Arizona and winning that region. And now they have to go to Arkansas this weekend. And so we got pretty good product. And also our small schools, Belhaven's still alive. and they're going to super regionals, and so we're proud of them. Mississippi College, man, they had a great year. They went to had to go to Tampa and play the #1 team in the whole country, and actually beat them and lost to them in 10 innings in the final game. So those guys had a great season. And of course, Delta State and William Carey and Millsaps all win the league title. We play some pretty good old baseball, and then we got some pretty good old junior college teams too, don't we?
That's right. I'm telling you what, Dale. I mean, this state is, as far as producing softball specifically, not only baseball but softball, they produce quite a number of talented girls, that come out there and really give it their all. And it's great, interesting when you go to these high school games and how many fans or how big the competition is. A lot of the girls that go to the smaller college schools, your Belhaven, your Delta State, your William Carey, they're pretty much not surprised by the time they get to that level of play because they've had that amount of crowd and fandom as they were growing up, because of the amount, the huge crowds that we get in these local high school playoffs.
This is Marshall Hunter. I want to throw something out about one of our junior colleges, East Central. Those guys have been to the World Series for the past 2 years, and they didn't make it through. They're not in right now as of yet, but I think by Tuesday they're going to make a decision. They still may get an at-large bid, so that could make 3 series in a row for the Warriors up there at East Central. That's pretty good record.
And Marshall, I'll tell you, for the community college, they take who ended up beating East Central. They take it to every year. They're down here recruiting on the coast. Avalon and those guys are doing the best they can. They're picking up guys from college that want to transfer, and now since the rule of eligibility, for college, just athletics in general, it's making a big difference in junior college programs, especially in the state.
Well, I tell you what, we talk about baseball, and I mean from T-ball on up, Mississippi makes a big footprint when it comes to baseball. Hunter, listen, I just tell you, we're out of time, man. When we having fun, it flies, and we always have fun when Hunter Dawkins is on the show, man. Thank you for being with us today.
Hey, guys, it's nothing but a privilege, and I thank y'all both very much.
Hang on for just a second. We're going to take a break to hear from one of our sponsors, and Dale and I will be back with tonight's final segment of the Brouhaha right after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's final segment. Hunter's always a treat. I mean, he can. All you got to do is open the mic and turn him loose, and buddy, he's ready to go.
Boy, he can do it now.
I want to ask you something. I can't help it. Okay. I'm gonna be the dead horse to death. I'm gonna do it. I'll be the dead horse all day long. I can't get away from the Shedeur Sanders thing. I'm just
Well, I came within a second of asking him what his thoughts about that was, and I said, we've done that a lot on this show. Are we going to beat that horse to death?
I like him, and I listen to him, and I'm sure he's got the skill set and everything. It's like he's lived in a protected world or something. He doesn't communicate real well. Have you noticed that?
Well, he acts as like he's silly, or he's not mature. I'm not sure what it is.
That's what I'm trying. This is not hammering this kid.
Yeah,
we're not hammering him because I've been a prime time fan all my life, and I'd like to see Shedeur do well. But in watching him, it just doesn't seem to. The conversations don't flow real well.
Yeah, he really doesn't seem like he's in a conversation with somebody. He lacks focus, or he's silly, or he's thinking about something else because he's because he looks a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I saw him on one here a couple of days ago. One of the local announcers, I guess, in that area where he is, was interviewing him on a YouTube thing, and he like you're talking to a high school quarterback, you know.
Yeah.
And I've seen more mature high school quarterbacks than him, for sure.
Yeah, I hate it for him.
They say he's doing really well, so we'll see.
Yeah.
I hope the best for him.
I do too. What else we got to talk about in sports, Dale? I mean,
Let me see. What could we talk about?
we got spring.
Pete Rose is going. I got to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. Him and Shoeless Joe. You know, and you know the thing about it is, I've heard about Shoeless Joe my whole life, and he was one of those. You know how the military academies do. If you know somebody's cheating and you don't turn them in,
You cheating too.
you're cheating too. Well, that's kind of way with Shoeless Joe. And I'm, of course, I wasn't around in 1919 when the White Sox supposedly, lost the World Series on purpose, supposedly, because of betting, betting odds and all this. But Ted Williams once said about Shoeless Joe, he's the best baseball player I ever saw. Now, if Ted Williams is telling me that, and he says, I don't know why he's not in the Hall of Fame. I mean, Ted Williams kept saying that, campaigning for him. And listen, Pete Rose did bad, and he probably made the most mortal sin you can in baseball, betting on your own team. Of course, he always bet on his own team to win, not to lose. Okay?
Yeah, that's a little difference there.
Yeah, there's a difference there. And so I think he paid his dues.
Yeah,
I mean, and I hate that he's not going to be around.
yeah.
But Major League Baseball is probably happy he's not being around, because I can see him getting up on that stage.
Yeah, doing what Pete does.
Well, it's about time.
Where y'all been?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy about that. I was a Rose fan coming up, and I mean, with all that goes on in sports these days, I mean, come on, give me a break. Give me a break.
Well, I got to see him one time in a Major League game. We were going through we went through Houston and stayed with some kinfolk, and we went over to see the Reds play the Astros. And of course, the Superdome, the Astrodome was, I wanted to see it more than I really did the game at the time. But I remember Pete Rose led off the game with a home run. The guy behind him was a guy named Bobby Tolan, and I remember this. Bobby Tolan hit a home run, and the Reds won 2-1. That was it.
Oh, well, that's all it took.
Yep, all it took.
Well, I got to see a little football this past Friday
Yeah,
night.
but tell us what you thought.
Well, I tell you what, I got to see the War Eagles play host to the Citronelle bunch down there. Came into town and about 3/4 of varsity play and 1/4 of JV play, and saw a lot of kids running around and playing. Looked like they were all running in the same direction and doing what they were supposed to do. So I mean, who knows? Spring game, 20-0. War Eagles shut them out, but they look pretty good. I tell you what, I'm excited to see what they got. To trying out, multiple quarterbacks. Jacob Bowles is gone, but they're working through that. But they got some folks that can go now. We'll just have to see what happens when it starts off. When we go down to Mobile to start out with Williams, that ain't a good place to start. But we got to do it.
Well, now I read the other day that Williamson is getting. I read the Mobile paper every day online, just about keep up with their sports too. Because of our good friend Greg Stevens has been on our show. I like to see his writing, follow his writing. But Williamson's opened a brand new stadium here this past weekend.
Yeah.
So they're going to play in a brand new stadium. AstroTurf, track, all that kind of stuff.
We'll just have to figure out how to find it.
Yeah.
That'd be the hard part. Speaking about finding it, I think we've about found quitting time for tonight's version of the Brouhaha. We want to thank Hunter Dawkins for being with us, and Dale for all you bring to the Brouhaha table. We want to remind our friends and audience that you can follow us along on our Facebook page at the Brouhaha, and all of our shows are cataloged for you to listen to on demand at our YouTube channel, the Brouhaha. But now, right now, this very minute, you know what time it is, Dale? It's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye, Dale.
And we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Del McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.